This is Yahoo Eurosport's Player of the Year nominee, Swansea City's Michu. Miguel Perez Cuesta was an unknown entity when Michael Laudrup signed him from Rayo Vallecano, despite being the top scoring midfielder in La Liga the previous campaign. With a price tag of only £2 million, Michu displayed from his very first game in the Premier League why he was to become the season's best buy. Swansea headed to Loftus Road with much of the media tipping them to be a basement battler and QPR to be on a push for a more respectable final league position. However, Michu and co laid down a marker for things to come with an inspired performance that saw them trounce the R's 5-0, with the Spaniard netting 2 exquisite goals. Michu continued to lead the scoring charts as he followed up that impressive performance with 2 goals in his next 2 games at home to West Ham and Sunderland. A fantastic way to introduce yourself to the Liberty faithful. His impact on games and influence on his teammates was fast becoming a key factor in what has become the success story of the year at Swansea. His goals propelled the side to important away wins, first in late November at Newcastle, and an incredible late brace in the closing minutes at the Emirates to upset the bookies and complete one of the greatest victories in the Swans' recent history. The goals took his tally to 11 and perfectly emphasised Michu's strengths. He cemented his place in Swansea's hearts when he netted a 29th minute equaliser to earn a first point against Manchester United in 30 years. It continued to intensify interest in the Spaniard, forcing his Danish boss to warn off possible suitors with a price tag of £30 million.
I don't want to let him go. Obviously you can get, the offer can be so big that you have to accept it. I don't think anyone will come with that money, to be honest, so he will stay here.
Michu's impressive form reached a new high at the turn of the year. After a win at Stamford Bridge in the Capital One Cup and a draw in the return fixture, the Swans were through to their first ever cup final. With Michu yet again a big influence on the result, Laudrup wasted no time in offering him a new deal. To the delight of the club and its fans, the 27-year-old committed himself to the South Wales side for another 4 years. Swansea routed lowly Bradford 5-0 in the final to earn a first piece of silverware in their 101-year history.
I'm very happy. I won a title. It's incredible. It's my first of my career. Play a final in Wembley, beat Bradford, difficult team 5-0. Score. It's great. Now I'm staying here because I'm very happy.
Whilst the humble Spaniard praises his manager and teammates for his success, much of the credit for the football fairy tale Swansea have enjoyed this year lies at the feet of Michu. His goal-scoring ability and raw passion have been invaluable each and every time he plays. With his future at the club secure and a first winner's medal in his pocket, the 27-year-old will be able to strut his stuff on a bigger stage as he and his club enter the European scene for the first time. This is Yahoo Eurosport's Player of the Year nominee, Tottenham's Gareth Bale. In a little over 5 years at White Hart Lane, Bale has progressed from left back to left wing and to where he currently finds himself as the centre of Spurs' attack force. This lightning ascent and development out of his teenage years now sees him widely regarded as a world-class player. A new manager brings with him new ideas. There were early signs that Andre Villas-Boas's methods were working, and in particular for Bale finding that next level. Spurs hadn't won at Old Trafford since 1989, but that was put right with a quite inspired performance from the Welshman. A fine goal and a hand in the other 2 was a sign of things to come. As White finally looked to edge ahead of Red in North London, Tottenham were handed a stark reminder that Arsenal would not step aside without a fight. Bale may have scored at the Emirates, but as part of a 10-man side they never really stood a chance. Revenge would come later. Such was his effect on games that on a midweek night at the Lane in November, he managed to score for his side and for Liverpool, but still saw Spurs come out on top. But it was at Aston Villa on Boxing Day where we saw him hit top gear. A hat-trick in a little over 20 minutes breathed yet more life into Tottenham's steady progress. It understandably had his manager grinning from ear to ear.
He's just such a versatile player. I think he's learning every day, improving every day. And he certainly adds so much to the team. You know, he's so strong, and I think he deserved to get this goal.
It was the middle section of the season when Bale and Spurs really found their feet. A 12-game run without defeat in the Premier League coincided with him scoring in 5 consecutive matches, the 5th coming against rivals Arsenal to establish themselves in that precious 3rd spot. Alongside AVB, Tottenham were rewarded with the Barclays Player and Manager of the Month awards for February.
It's great to win Barclays Player of the Month. I think the team's been absolutely fantastic over the last couple of months, and yeah, it's basically down to them that I've got this award. So yeah, I think we're in some good form at the moment, and hopefully we can keep it up.
He may have been overly modest, but following another match-winning display, this time at Upton Park, he had even the opposition manager singing his praises.
We've one man to thank for not getting a point. That was called Gareth Bale. There's a difference between both sides today, and these wonder goals are continuing. And I can't say I've ever seen so many wonder goals scored by one player in such a short time. I mean, everything he's hitting is from outside the box, and it's going in the back of the net.
It remains to be seen whether Tottenham can claim a top 4 place and return to the Champions League, where Gareth Bale has already experienced success. If they can manage it, huge credit must go to the Welshman, who's turned a steady season into a sublime one. This is Yahoo Eurosport's Player of the Year nominee, Manchester United's Robin van Persie. In the biggest transfer of the summer, last season's Player of the Year ended his 8-year spell at Arsenal with a £24 million move to Old Trafford. Sir Alex Ferguson had high expectations for his new star striker, and it didn't take long for the Dutchman to live up to his billing. Despite tasting bitter defeat on his debut at Everton, Van Persie introduced himself to the Old Trafford faithful in style with a Yahoo Eurosport Goal of the Season contender. United made a somewhat nervy start to the campaign, and RVP proved to be the difference in some incredibly tight games, none more so than when he bagged a thrilling hat-trick at the St Mary's Stadium. Despite notching up an early goal, United found themselves being outplayed by newly promoted Southampton. 2-1 down in the game's dying minutes, Van Persie recovered from an embarrassing penalty miss to net 2 goals in 4 minutes to steal victory from the Saints and notch up his 100th Premier League goal in the process. Despite being hit with a bout of injuries, United's successful season was beginning to take shape as Van Persie further established himself at the club and consistently proved his value to the team's winning ways. By the first week of November, the Red Devils were top of the table, down in no small part to his 7 goals in 9 Premier League games. He proved his loyalty to his new club as he faced his former employers Arsenal. It took just 3 minutes for him to find the net with his first touch of the game. It was a blow Arsenal never recovered from. As winter settled, Van Persie entered what would be his richest vein of form. His thrilling injury-time winner in the Manchester derby was arguably his most important strike of the season. It drove a wedge that opened the gulf between the clubs that was to grow ever greater as the season progressed.
It's a really special way to end this game, with the 3 points in a dramatic way.
His winner at the Etihad was just 1 of 5 goals in 6 games through December. Adding 3 assists to the tally as well was enough to earn him the Barclays Player of the Month award.
Very special, I'm very grateful. It is a great award, and I'm very proud to win it. You have certain periods during a season when it goes your way, and December was one of those periods.
The dream run continued into the new year. 10 Premier League goals in as many matches from Van Persie saw United stretch their lead at the summit to double figures as February began. His brace in the away rout of Wigan drew special praise from his manager and signified what a vital piece of the puzzle he's become as United charge towards their 20th title. Although the goals have dried up of late, the Dutchman's consistent scoring throughout the campaign has been the vital difference for United this season. They certainly won't be losing the title on goal difference this year. This is Yahoo Eurosport's Player of the Year nominee, Chelsea's Eden Hazard. The latest in a long line of exciting Belgian exports to grace the Premier League, Hazard's reputation preceded him even before he joined the Blues. As a 21-year-old, he won Ligue 1's Player of the Year award in his last 2 seasons at Lille and commanded a hefty price tag of £32 million that few would have expected he would justify quite so quickly. Hazard's place in the Chelsea lineup has been one of only a few constants in a season where uncertainty has been a common theme at Stamford Bridge. Coming into the final 2 months of the season, he's played a part in all but 2 of his team's league games, and his performances earned him nominations for both the PFA Player and Young Player of the Year awards. He originally announced his decision to join Chelsea on Twitter, and on his competitive debut, the attacking midfielder was flying. Wigan were the victims, as the British public had their first chance to see the youngster's quick feet. It took just 2 minutes for him to make an impact, turning neatly before slipping in Branislav Ivanovic for his first assist for the Blues. 5 minutes later, he was at it again, showing a confidence beyond his years to drive at the opposition's backline before drawing a foul to bag his team a penalty. Just 90 minutes into his Barclays Premier League career, and already he was gaining plaudits from his most respected teammates.
It's not easy at a young age to come in the Premier League, no matter how good a player you are, and you saw the quality that he brought there with a little spin and then put Ivanovic through, and then the speed to get away from his man for the penalty. So that's something that I know Chelsea fans are crying out to see, and it's great to play with him.
A provider of the highest quality, it wasn't long before he was the one finding the back of the net. It's fitting that Hazard's first goal from open play for the Blues was created by Juan Mata. Coupled with Brazilian Oscar, they've emerged as a formidable attacking trio, dictating the play between the midfield and forward line with consummate ease. Mata and Hazard particularly seem to strike up a relationship, as they helped fire Chelsea to the top of the pile by the end of October. That was as good as it got for Roberto Di Matteo's side, though. Just 2 wins in his final 8 games at the club found the Italian waving goodbye to Stamford Bridge. But whilst others around him failed to perform, Hazard continued to attract attention from all sections of the footballing world. His performances even led to comparisons with Chelsea legend Gianfranco Zola, an association that many felt wasn't premature.
Gianfranco Zola had immense quality, as does Edin. Edin's slightly younger than what Gianfranco was as well. But both of them are very similar players in actual fact, very quick feet, see a pass, see a goal, and both have very, very similar qualities.
Much like his predecessor, Hazard's capacity to regularly stun the crowd with a moment of brilliance was just one of the elements of his game that made him such a hit with the fans going into the new year. He started 2013 as he'd finished 2012, striking in successive league games for the Blues and picking up consecutive Man of the Match awards for his troubles as Chelsea continued to march on 4 separate fronts. But the Blues' exploits eventually caught up with the players, and off the back of just 2 wins in 5 in the league, Rafa Benitez would have been forgiven for seeming apprehensive as his side prepared to host West Ham in March. In a performance that perfectly encapsulated his impressive season, Hazard took it upon himself to get the Blues back on track. A perfectly flighted assist for Frank Lampard's 200th Chelsea goal, followed by a cool finish that proved to be the nail in the Hammer's coffin, capped off arguably his finest performance of the term. So an opening campaign to remember for the Belgian, and one which should convince all but the most critical of fans that he'll be a vital piece of the puzzle for Chelsea's success in the years to come. This is Yahoo Eurosport's Player of the Year nominee, Manchester United's Michael Carrick. At the age of 31, Carrick has been shortlisted by his peers for the PFA Player of the Year for the first time. Recognition finally for a player completing his 7th season at Old Trafford. 5 of those have ended with him clutching the Premier League trophy. Add to that 2 League Cup triumphs and a Champions League winner's medal, and you have a more than successful career. He played a part in 33 out of the 34 games before his side secured their 20th top-flight title, amassing more minutes of Premier League football than in any of his previous campaigns under Sir Alex Ferguson.
Sometimes you can come to the ground and you don't know if you're starting or if you're going to be in the stand, and that's the nature of the squad. You know, you've got such a strong squad, and as I said, the manager's got so many options.
The man that brought Carrick to the theatre of dreams felt him worthy of an almost permanent fixture in his midfield and believes this has been his best ever season at the club. Having come out of the same West Ham youth system as Frank Lampard, people expect a similar goals return as the Chelsea midfielder. But these are different players, and Carrick's contribution to his side should not be underestimated. His senior position in the squad also comes with a duty towards those just starting to break through.
it is a responsibility of sort of leading the younger boys and showing them, not on the pitch but off the pitch, and just how to do things and how to act.
As others were finishing up at work for the year, Carrick was about to do his best. In the back end of December against Swansea, he attempted 93 passes, significantly more than any other player on the pitch, with just 6 going astray. He's often unfairly accused of playing safe, horizontal balls, but in this game, he proved he has an incisive edge and an ability to turn defence into attack with a single swipe of his boot. Not long after, his 2 assists in the Boxing Day win against Newcastle produced a result that swung the title towards the red half of Manchester. Trailing with 20 minutes to go, his commitment was best underlined by the fact he collected the ball from the net whilst his teammates celebrated the equaliser. He wanted the winner, and he was the man to deliver it to Javier Hernandez. All the while at the Stadium of Light, City were being sunk by their former winger Adam Johnson. It meant United would head into 2013 with a 7-point lead, one that City would ultimately never make up. This relentless drive and fight was no doubt a reaction to the bitter final day disappointment of last season. There was a clear determination to never let it happen again.
I don't think the club as a whole really has gone through that situation, so yeah, we learned a lot. I think you know, we know where we went wrong in certain games, and but you know, in some ways we've forgot about that, and it's about this season.
Despite not featuring in Roy Hodgson's England squad that travelled to Euro 2012, he's since been a part of the manager's plans to reach the World Cup in Brazil. Hodgson watched on as Carrick was influential in the win over Liverpool in what was an artful display from the box-to-box midfielder. He quietly goes about his work. Appreciation of his art from the people he plays with and against, and his return to the international stage speak volumes about his pedigree. Wrapping up a 5th Premier League title with Manchester United is the icing on the cake of a fruitful season.
You know, I had a special feeling before the game. Obviously, in the position we were in, we knew a win was good enough, and you know, to be champions is a special feeling.
This is Yahoo Eurosport's Player of the Year nominee, Liverpool's Luis Suarez. Now into his 3rd Premier League season, the Uruguayan has established himself as one of the division's top marksmen. Despite playing under 3 different managers in a club seriously suffering from transition, Suarez has been a rock of consistency. Brendan Rodgers' reign commenced with a shaky opening day performance, but that was soon forgotten as Suarez pulled the strings back at Anfield and Liverpool came close to beating the champions. But it wasn't until a trip to Norwich at the end of September that Suarez exerted his dominance enough to earn his side their first league win of the campaign. A 2nd consecutive hat-trick at Carrow Road for Suarez, and the Reds were up and running. David Moyes was outspoken about his belief that Luis Suarez used simulation to gain an advantage. He couldn't be accused of that when he put Liverpool ahead in the Merseyside derby and then celebrated in a typically confrontational manner. Although Liverpool was struggling for maximum points, Suarez was regularly finding the net. Following the Merseyside derby, his stunning goal against Newcastle rescued a draw, while another late strike at Stamford Bridge salvaged a further point. It would be a disservice to focus solely on his goals. He provides for others around him, not just in terms of assists. His ability with the ball at his feet causes enough consternation to defenders that they'll often double up, leaving space for teammates to exploit. It was a factor his captain was keen to emphasise.
He's been brilliant for us since he's come to the club. Week in, week out, he shows what a top player he is. These players have only got to play against him twice a year. We've got to train with him every day. He's a magician.
The Uruguayan is unlikely to favour a winter break. While managers were bemoaning the overloaded fixture schedule, he went on his most prolific scoring run of the season. 7 goals in as many games over the festive period and well into January helped his side to 4 wins. And the goals didn't stop there. He became the first player to score 2 hat-tricks this term at Wigan in a ruthless 30-minute period. But if you thought all his landmark performances were happening away from Anfield, he scored and won the penalty that overcame Tottenham in front of the Kop.
Lewis is be a top player, and we're delighted to have him. And there's a lot of talk between him, Bale, Van Persie for the play of the year, and those are the 2. Top players. I think Gareth Bale showed some glimpses today, some fantastic touches and crosses. I think goals as well. So, but He's man of the match, isn't he? So I think he's obviously come out on top today.
By doubling his goal tally from last season, he's shown a more clinical edge, converting chances that perhaps last year would have gone begging. But being the league's leading scorer to date comes at a price. He's at the pinnacle because of his staggering competitiveness and his win-at-all-costs mentality. This has upset many in the game, but to soften this edge of his would be to lose so much of what Luis Suarez brings to the Premier League. This is Yahoo Eurosport's Player of the Year nominee, Chelsea's Juan Mata. He's brushed aside the difficult second season factor, with opposition still to devise a way to nullify his prodigious threat. Perhaps what is most impressive is that despite the uncertainty surrounding Chelsea, he's been able to improve on his tally from his debut campaign in the Premier League. Having won the FA Cup and Champions League in May, lifted the European Championship with Spain, scoring in the final, and featured heavily in their underwhelming Olympics campaign, Mata could be forgiven for a somewhat sluggish start, but it wouldn't last long. His precision from set pieces saw him make one and score the winner as Chelsea left the Emirates with all 3 points. And after masterminding the win against Norwich, he was back in North London causing trouble. 2 goals in the emphatic win against Tottenham left his club top of the pile at the end of October.
At this moment we are, I think, playing really well with the ball, trying to give assist, to give movements for our midfielders, and I think we all are enjoying this moment.
It was a hot streak that saw him rewarded with the Premier League Player of the Month for October.
My main job is to assist, not to score, but of course the best feeling if you are a football player is to scoring goals. So this month it has been very good for me.
A poor run for the club as a whole in November saw Roberto Di Matteo relieved of his duties just 6 months after bringing home the Champions League trophy. It wasn't until Advent that their fortunes began to turn. Now under the guidance of interim manager Rafa Benitez, Mata went on a prolific scoring run spanning 4 competitions, culminating in the Spaniard netting the winner at Norwich on his 50th Premier League appearance. Having already surpassed last season's goal tally and currently leading Chelsea's scoring charts, his contribution to the side cannot be underrated. The fact that he's scored important goals in big games adds to his already high worth. His strike in the win over Arsenal in January could prove vital to the standings come the end of the season. So much of what is good about Chelsea comes through Juan Mata. It's hard to think of a player in the division whose influence is so pivotal to his side's performance. This is reflected by being one of the top assisters in the Premier League. The Spaniard may have to extend his mantelpiece, as 2013 has put his fingerprints on multiple trophies, and he still has the potential to add further silverware with the Blues before the year is up.